Hi everyone, thanks for joining me for Coffee and Card at Home. So this is week 2 using the Hello Ladybug bundle, and today we've just used the stamp set. We've not used the punch this time. We're using this cute little ladybird, which will make quite a nice card for children. I think they would like that one. So I'm going to show you how to make that. I'll just put those to the side. So first of all, you're going to need a C6 base, which is half of an A4 sheet of card and then scored at 10.5 centimeters. And this is just our thick basic white cardstock, so that we can obviously decorate the background. So we're going to do our stamping first of all. So I have used for this, for my background, the large flower here, and then just the centre that goes in the middle of that. And on my example I just showed you, I use Calypso coral, but I'm going to have a go at using Highland heather with this one. So a little bit of a different colour, but you could mix the colours up if you wanted to have different colour flowers. We had some ladies this morning on our Zoom session who have used the leaf as well, so there's lots of options. I'm going to stamp first and then stamp again, so it gives us that lighter shade. It's quite nice to do that, just to get a little bit of a different colour. Just make sure you stamp well. You can see I've just got a little bit there that hasn't stamped particularly well on there. But the nice thing about this is it's such a kind of random pattern that you can go with. It's quite handy that you can sort of, you're using it as a background, so it doesn't have to necessarily be completely perfect. Now if you end up having somewhere you want to stamp off and not lose the definition at the side, then stamp onto your grid paper first and then stamp, because sometimes when you're stamping off at the edge you can kind of end up having a darker bit and a lighter bit. It doesn't look quite so nice. So I've finished now with my Highland heather. I'm just going to use Daffodil Delight now, which I'm going to use for the centres of my flowers. So there's a very tiny stamp which looks a bit like a sun, if you can see there, and that we can use for the centres of our flowers. Don't worry if it's not perfectly placed, because again we're going quite random here, and it kind of just adds to that natural effect. But it's amazing how once you add the centres to the flowers it can look completely different. So I think it's definitely worth doing. Okay, so that's our background done. I'm just going to pop that to the side. So I've got a piece of card here which measures 4 centimeters by the length of the card, which is 14.8 centimeters, and we're going to stamp our ladybirds across here. So this is the cute little ladybird, which I definitely think is a bit more child friendly. Looks like the sort of ladybird children would enjoy. And to try and space it as equally as I could, I stamped my 2 end ones first. So left hand one done, and then try and space it the same for the right hand one. And then I should be able to space that middle one well. The nice thing about this is because it's a photopolymer set, you can actually see quite well where you're placing them. There we go. Now there is a stamp where you can colour the ladybirds in red, but it's quite fiddly to try and line it up exactly right. So what I decided to do this time was just to colour my ladybirds in, and I have used just a real red Stampin' Right marker pen. You could use Stampin' Blend if you wanted to, or of course any colouring tools, so watercolour pencils or pastels or whatever you've got to hand really. Or like I say, if you think you can get your lining up right, then you can have a go at stamping it with the the stamp that comes with the set. So I'm just sort of using the thicker end of my pen to try and avoid too many lines. There we go, the final ladybirds colouring. This is the fiddly part where you end up concentrating, so you have to stop talking. There we go, so all 3 ladybirds coloured in. I'm just going to pop that to the side for a minute while we just do our sentiment. So our sentiment, I've got a rectangle here which is 4 centimetres wide. The length doesn't matter too much because I'm going to trim that down, but I'm using the sentiment that says, "May your greatest wish come true." And I'm just going to stamp that with Misty Moonlight, so it stands out quite nicely on this blue background. I think this is Pool Party that I've used here. And we're just going to stamp that fairly close to the top because I'm going to flag the bottom on it. So to flag the bottom, just going to take my scissors and I'm just going to cut a little bit of the length off there because I don't want it to be too long. And then I'm going to cut up in the centre. If you wanted to measure it exactly, you could. So where I've made my slit there, I'm going to go from the corner to the top of that slit. And then same on the other side, corner to the top of that slit. And there you have a nice flag sentiment. So let's bring back all the other bits. So we're going to stick the ladybirds on. Now, if you have ended up with any bits that you're not so happy with, the nice thing about this is you could put your ladybirds somewhere to hide that. But obviously we just need to remember that we have got to put our sentiment on. So I might actually put my ladybirds a bit lower down and then use my sentiment to hide that bit. So I just glued my ladybirds on with Tombow. And then I'm going to line it up with my grid paper just to try and help me to get my ladybirds straight. And then my sentiment I have stuck on with dimensionals. So I'm going to use 5, 1 in each of the bottom corners there, 1 in each of the top corners, and then 1 in the centre, just so that it doesn't sag down in the middle. Peel the backs off of those. And then I'm just going to again use my grid lines to help me to position this and make sure it's stuck on straight. And just get rid of my rubbish. And there we have it, that is finished. So if I just bring in one of the other ones, you can see it's quite nice having the 2 different colours. So you could really make that in any colour combination you wanted to, mixture of colours of flowers, you could use a leaf, You could use leaf and the flower, so lots of different options. And the ladies this morning on our Zoom session were having a good play around with different techniques and different things they could do as well. So if you would like a quick recap of what we've used, we have used a C6 thick basic white cardstock base. Then we have used a strip of basic white cardstock which measures 4 centimetres by 14.8 centimetres. A piece of pool party cardstock which is 4 centimetres wide. The length doesn't matter too much depending on your sentiment. And then inks we've used, on my original one I used Calypso Coral, on this one I've used Highland Heather, and then Memento Black for our ladybirds with real red colouring in with the marker pen, and then Misty Moonlight for our sentiment. And really that is it. The only thing that you could add if you wanted to is you could maybe add a bit of Wink of Stella to some of your flowers if you wanted to, or maybe even a few little gems, but that's pretty much it. So they're quite quick cards to get made. So if you've got a few birthdays coming up, then you could make a few of those in one go. Anyway, I hope that has been helpful. If there's anything you need any help with, please let me know. You can email me on claire@clairescraftstore.co.uk, or you can drop me a Facebook message. And if you'd like to place an order, I'll be putting in an order at the end of this week. So if you can let me know, then you'll qualify for free postage and delivery, or you can go onto the stampinup.uk website and you can order straight through there and it will be delivered directly to you. Anyway, thanks very much for joining me. Take care, and I will see you next week for week 3. Bye.